second item is public comments.
And we don't have anyone signed up. We have one of the applicants here who signed in just to kind of as a formality so that he can address any kind of questions that you might have for discussion item number 7 when we get there.
Okay. All right, our next item on the agenda is the item 3, the approval of the minutes for June 19, 2014. Everybody has a chance to go over those.
Yeah, I had one question on that. On item 2 in the second paragraph, I thought we had given them an opportunity to drill the well was what they had requested, but I thought we had given them an option on the sewer, either to do their own septic or to use the sewer.
Okay.
And I just didn't know if we needed to show that in these notes or not.
Well, they're going to connect to the sewer is what I understand, isn't that right?
Okay, I believe so. I'm still kind of learning from the previous
Yes.
meetings and everything like that. But if you would like to include it, you can make a motion to approve with modifications and throw in whatever modification you feel most comfortable with, and the board can vote on it from there.
So they told us that night that they were going to use the city sewer, is that correct?
Well, yeah, and what we had did was gave them the option because they weren't sure what the hookup to the city was versus doing their own system. And so I thought we decided to leave it so that they could do their research and do either one. We were happy doing either one, and that way they wouldn't have to reapply in case they decide not to go with the city sewer.
Oh,
And so I think that's why in the notes here, it says that it was, the sewer cost was going to be based on the current schedule used. And so that's, if they used their own septic, they were supposed to pay the sewer cost to offset the city cost on that. So I'm up to you guys too to see what you recalled on.
What do you
this.
mean they were supposed to pay the sewer? They were only going to pay
Well,
the
that's how-
cost if they connected to it.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
Because that's what they were originally wanting to do, was they were open to paying that or even paying for a metered well.
right,
And we nixed all that and just gave them the option to do whatever they wanted to do.
okay. But I didn't think
But I
that
agree, it needs to be modified.
the way this is worded, we needed to.
Okay. Well, you want to make a motion with a
Brian, would you word that for me? I'm
Yeah,
fighting a head cold and I'm not thinking sharp.
I'll make a motion to approve with a modification to section 2, that that it's totally up to the user to determine if he wants to use city sewer or his own septic.
Okay, and I would second that motion.
Okay. And we can call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
and are we approving that change or are we approving the minutes as a whole then?
You would approve the June 19th, 2014 minutes with a
With
modification.
the modification,
Yeah.
okay.
And I was absent at that meeting, so do I vote? I was absent.
Note.
I wouldn't vote.
Nope, I can make sure that you're abstained.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I'd vote yes on that.
Yep.
All right, any opposed? Hearing none.
Okay. Our next item is the approval of the minutes for September 18, 2014. I had a chance to look at those. Or any modifications? I don't think so.
I'd move to approve them as they are.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none.
Okay. Next, item number 5 is the approval of the minutes for November 20th of 2014.
I'm not seeing those in, oh, there it is.
Yeah, that should be here.
It looked good to me.
Yeah, I'd
Make a
approve.
motion we approve.
I'll second those.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Okay, our next is the discussion item. It says discuss and possible action of application. I don't know if we need to read all that. It's for the property located at 2700 East Highway 33 in regards to the zoning ordinance It says it's number 3215, paragraph 8, section 3, which prohibits any sign within 1,000 feet of the right-of-way line of an interstate highway to be more than 50 feet above grade level of such thoroughfare.
And Commissioner, or Chairman Owens and I were talking about this earlier. It would be within, I mean, a fraction of the same height of the sign for the Loves on the east side of I-35. So very similar. The applicant is not here, but they gave us a run-through of kind of what Loves does, Loves being the applicant for this discussion item. You know, they do vision test from, I think, 10 miles and out. They throw a weighted balloon up in the air to see kind of where they can get people to first notice the sign right off the bat from the interstate so that they can pull. And again, we have not received any commentary from this item or discussion item number 7, whether positive or negative from the community. We did send out one letter for this item.
Okay.
There's only one resident. with
There's
the
only one
striking.
property owner within 300 feet of this, with this variance.
And
It'll
that's who's on
affect most of the city.
That's the one on this picture, correct?
I believe so.
I think we have 2 pictures there somewhere, so.
Well, that,
Where it's got the yellow line drawn
Yeah.
from the side of the sign to the property owner?
Yes.
Okay.
okay. And nothing back from there, no objections,
Nope.
anything from there?
No.
Okay.
See, can we have a little discussion on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've all hopefully been down there and seen the existing pole and the existing sign. What we're talking about is 125 feet with basically 2,600 square foot of signage. That's probably close to the size of their store. You know, that's where I'm a little bit concerned, because as in, kind of like other communities around, they don't allow it. When you start, and I won't compare to other communities around, but they just don't allow it. It would, from the research I've done, the average billboard is approximately 600, I think, in 17 square feet of advertising space, maybe a little bit more. This one is 2,300.
Four of those.
4 of those together. You won't find anything near the size going up and down I-35 that I know of, from Texas all the way up. So I'm a little bit concerned in that, a little bit concerned in that the applicant's not here to answer some questions that I have.
Well, you know, they originally had intentions to be here. I think that they are working several different projects. Obviously, we've got the Guthrie project manager is currently involved with a couple different projects throughout the region, and so he apologized for not being able to be here. He was trying to get me a statement, but we just haven't been able to connect so far.
Hey, let me ask another thing real quick, because this is a variance issue, but has it been in front of the planning commission?
No, this one has not.
Okay, is that just because it's a variance?
Uh-huh.
Or wouldn't it have gone to the planning commission first?
Not at this point, just due to kind of, if you remember, this was annexed recently. When they were doing those kinds of plans and everything like that, they had not been annexed into the city. And so with the sign being kind of the first matter that's taken place while they've been annexed into the city, this is why it's coming to the Board of Adjustment
Where do we sit?
and the variance.
Where do we sit from a standpoint of federal regulations and guidelines on freeway signage?
This would meet any kind of limitations that the federal transportation system, interstate government has.
So basically, the feds would be okay with it.
Would it also meet far as air traffic, stuff like that? No problem with that?
Approved by FAA and our Guthrie Edmond Regional Airport Director Justin Hyde has even been. We're a little bit more familiar with all these projects, as you know, economic development and community development have combined because of the nature of economic development and Guthrie Edmond Regional Airport. So he's being apprised a little bit more frequently of all projects moving forward.
One other question. I know that gas station right across the street just put their signage up.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know the height of that and the size of that sign that they put?
And
by chance?
that one is not annexed into the city limits at this point. We have not seen any kind of plans. They just have to meet kind of the state regulations and then, again, with the interstate government.
But it is approximately the 50-foot. I was out there looking at it.
That's what I'm wondering. I just
My
saw
big
that.
concern is the 2,300 square feet.
Yeah, I-
I mean,
Okay,
that's a
so that includes-
huge,
that
that's a
includes-
house.
But that includes the pylon, the monument, the building, directional, and other signage. So
Well,
that's a total,
Right. and
everything in squares and I'm sure for a sign that high with the wind in Oklahoma, you gotta have a good base of, I'm assuming you have to have a pretty sturdy base, so that's,
Yeah, it's gonna be
you
a
know.
massive sign, but that's some of
Right.
the questions that I had
Right.
for,
so can we,
Representative of Loves.
Well, could we table this and request them to come? I mean, is that something that we can do? I mean, I'm not sure.
Sure, we can table
I'd
it.
mean-
like to hear them specify just what the square footage of that specific sign is going to be on top of the pylon, because as you read this, it includes all signage as well as directional on the property.
I would
That
agree.
doesn't tell us what the square footage of the sign on the top of the pylon is going to be.
Total signage, yeah.
And this is property high-rise sign. That says art plans, is that what it says? Regarding architectural plans, okay.
so now, and here's the
What?
thing also is and I agree, I would like to hear him say that also. But when I went to the second exit, I went ahead and went past it, went north and came back.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see that existing sign from quite a ways out.
And that's what, obviously these,
But it looks like that's probably a 100-foot sign anyway,
pretty close.
post.
Now, when you say existing sign, when you're coming back from the north,
Yeah, there's a sign right out at Love's on the.
Right.
And that's exactly, from
Okay,
what I
I
understand
see.
here.
you look
I
at
think the difference in the size for this would just kind of depend a little bit on the elevation compared from the east and west sides.
Well, see, that's what I was a little bit unclear of, because right now they have a sign on the west side.
Right, right, that's what I was.
Okay, so then this is on the east side, right across the street from Valero,
Where the-
Yes.
where the-
Yes.
Where
Yes.
where the new property will be. where
Right.
the new
where the new Love's.
Correct.
It's
But see, that should, I still think that should all be a planning issue.
it's east of the existing Loves and north of the Valero, also known as Guthrie Travel Center.
Right, right.
What's happening to the existing Loves?
We haven't been apprised of any updates to it, whether it would be for sale or whether they would keep it. We haven't been told.
So,
If it went up for sale, city staff is very confident that it wouldn't be on the market very long, just due to the high traffic volumes and the success that we see from it.
Well, I would just about imagine, although they're not here to ask those questions too, but remember, they had a property hit by that tornado, on I-40.
In Choctaw,
So
yep.
I'm assuming that they're building this in relation to that being hit by a tornado. So maybe they're trying to make it so sturdy and so stable that.
And some of the square footage,
I'm assuming that it's gonna be hugely broad as well as for stability sake, but because they're not here to ask these questions to.
and if it's something that you guys kind of feel mildly comfortable with, but would like to kind of see something to kind of rest assured, you could vote on it, and I could ask him for a immediate response to hand out to you, within the coming days. Whatever you guys would like to do, we can make sure that's happened. I'm not sure if the, this Loves, the applicant for this item, they have told us that there will be other businesses involved with their center, and so I'm not sure if the other business signage is included in that 2,600 square feet or not, but I thought that was the case originally.
is this
Well,
is
my-
their,
I just couldn't confirm that it would be 100% accurate.
My understanding is that this is a variance for a sign. It has nothing to do with their building, so it doesn't have to do with all their signage. We're looking at 2,300 square feet on this one sign.
Correct.
It's
That's
not
the
the
way I
store.
understand it.
Yeah, it's not, well, Michael was asking about that. This isn't about total signage for the store. This is talking about 2,300 square foot sign. That's one massive sign.
Correct.
Yes,
See, I read it the other way. I read it that they're requesting approval of total signage, because if they're doing a McDonald's or a Burger King restaurant inside the truck stop, they're gonna probably wanna put a separate sign for that on the pole.
Yeah.
And any other establishment that they sublease space to is gonna want a sign on that pole. And I'm reading this as approving all of the signage
Yeah,
on the
you got-
pole
you got
as
that.
opposed to just the
Yeah.
Love's
So
sign.
we're making assumptions, and since they're not here,
Yeah.
so I mean,
And-
I would,
And again, truthfully, the actual request would be not necessarily for the total signage, but it would actually just be to go the extra 50 feet high. That's what, I mean,
Right.
the
So they
request
can-
really boils down to.
so basically, they can make the square footage can be as big as they want. We're doing the variance on the height itself.
Correct.
It's not the square footage, it's not.
Correct. That would be more of a
That's- planning
planning matter like Commissioner Bothwood
Correct.
is asking about.
Correct.
Well, so,
Okay.
so, see, that's what I was asking on this, since this is recently annexed, right? Have their base drawings have to go to planning anyway, right?
Because those base drawings were done previous, I think that we just have to be privy to them. I don't think that they have to go before approval
In
necessarily.
other words, they're grandfathered in.
Okay.
I just think it's a planning issue, but if what we're saying here is the variance is only the difference in 50 to 125 feet,
And I can tell you that
how it's reading, I
the Planning Commission meets January 8th. We will be talking about this item there, along with several other current developments.
And that, this
I say
sign
we-
is on top of that hill.
I
So
say
it-
we-
There's quite a hill that's, so you got that 150 foot on top of a hill, not down in a valley.
Well, it does read, the general information does read, seeks a variance approval of 125-foot overall height of pylon sign and 2,300 square feet of total signage.
Yeah.
So it does say "and" in there as far as
Right.
that they're
Square
seeking the
footage.
variance for.
I think that I think we kick it, we wait till, I think we kick it to planning and wait for them to be done, and then, and if it truly is just a pole height issue, that'll come back to us.
Yep.
And it will.
You want to make a motion to table pending the outcome of the planning
I
commission
think we
meeting?
make a motion to kick it to planning.
Yeah, I make a motion to table it until planning commission has done their thing, and that way we can kind of get more information. I would love to have a representative here. I think that's, I think there's enough questions that they don't have someone here. We can't make assumptions.
So if we table it, it's gonna have to wait for our regular meeting. If we kick it to planning, it'll be heard January 8th.
If you kick it to planning,
We still have to do the variance.
that would require a table, and you would still need to wait until your regular scheduled meeting.
But then all we'll be doing is the poll.
But that would, yes.
And they may need to.
Which
re-
I think is the true request that you're seeing tonight.
Okay.
Yeah,
And maybe
but-
they just need to clarify the purpose, the nature of their request. Maybe there's there's enough gray area there that we're a little confused about. With them not being here, we can't ask them these questions, so.
Is that, the last sentence of that paragraph really adds confusion to it. I go back to what Michael was thinking is, because why would they talk about, this includes all pylon, monument, building, directional, and other signage?
I think it was to provide information about what's going to be on there. Again, you'll see actually your discussion item number 6 is regarding to height specifically. And so the Board of Adjustment sees the height as the variance that's being requested. They might just have been providing more information than what this board would typically see.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think we're still within the deal if we make a motion to table it and let it go to planning, and then,
We could, I mean, because this has already been received via notification to all the property owners affected, you could still carry on with a regular scheduled January meeting without any kind of new notifications being sent out.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
And that would be your only discussion item for the January meeting.
okay.
Another option we would have would be to modify the approval on this, approve the 125 foot, and, but not approve the 2,300 square foot.
Well,
If that is truly, if all they need is the height, then we've
Right.
given them that, and they can progress along.
And
But
that's
if there's a-
truthfully what they're seeking from the Board of Adjustment would be the
Okay.
approval of the height
Okay.
variance. And so the Planning Commission would, of course, be in charge of the total square footage of it. But as far as the, what they're asking the board tonight for,
Yes.
would be the height variance itself.
Well,
Okay, so
I hear you, but that's not the way it's worded.
Yeah.
Well, on the
But we
agenda,
can
it
modify
is.
that.
Right. Well, the ordinance is strictly height.
On
We're-
the
we're
agenda over
only-
here it is.
yeah,
Correct.
On item number 6 on page 1. So basically, we are just trying to see if we want to give a variance to this particular zoning ordinance number 3215 of the sign height, the height of the signage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what I'm,
I understand what you're saying, but like you say, it does say that square footage there, so,
Let's just
If we-
table it. And then it goes to planning January 8th, and then we meet again the 15th or 18th. It's
Okay.
only a couple weeks away.
Okay.
They're not going to even break ground by then.
right, right.
And then that way it gets through planning, we don't have to worry about it because it'll come back as just a pole.
I think they're also aren't they involved in some heavy litigation with the District 1 Water District?
No, they
Or
have,
was that resolved?
they've reached an agreement with Rule 1.
Well, are we all in agreement? Any other questions? Dan, you look like you got a question there.
I just want to, there's a lot of things on this project, and so I don't want to put a stumbling block in it. So I agree, if tabling it isn't going to be a problem for them, I think we're in agreement with the height. We're not in agreement on the total square footage, as we understand, because we can't get understanding of how that's worded.
Right, but
So
the,
I'm trying to decide if that would be more helpful to divide that, or is it just as helpful just to table it and move on?
I don't know that this board would have any kind of jurisdiction on the square footage of the sign
right?
outside of nothing really. It would be solely the height. What you would be presenting, what we would be presenting to you as staff next month during the regular scheduled meeting would be, nearly enough, the exact same thing.
Okay.
Like I said, they added information to kind of give you an idea of what they're looking for, but in all reality, they're looking for the Board of Adjustment to approve the height variance.
Okay.
And so you wouldn't be seeing anything too dissimilar next meeting.
Okay.
Well, we could vote on the height of the pylon tonight and table the balance of the request until the zoning commission meets.
Or it sounds like we wouldn't even be
There is-
involved with the
there-
rest.
Yeah, there is no other balance to the request. It's simply based on the zoning ordinance.
And
And
we can relay concerns, obviously, from board to board to the planning commission next Thursday night during their meeting. That the Board of Adjustment was a little bit concerned about the height of, or the total square footage of the sign during our kind of conversations about current developments.
So, let me, I'm trying to figure out, just to be real clear. So if we vote on it tonight, we prove the 125 feet. If we table it tonight, it goes to planning,
And you would come
and they
back,
deal with everything else. And then we come back here in the middle of January, a couple weeks down the road, and we just come in and we vote on it then.
And we're still voting on the height.
right.
So there's no change, basically.
Have you guys researched height and signs up and down I-35?
I've not.
Well, then I would, huh?
I've not.
Well, then that would be another reason I would think. I think you need to do that.
Okay.
You're not going to find very many 125-foot tall signs up and down I-35.
Okay, and it's on top of a hill too, so that's
on
gonna be
top of a
seen
hill.
from forever.
Yeah.
But that being the
So
fact that it sits on top of the hill is a marketing disadvantage for them because you're not going to see the truck stop all that clearly northbound on the interstate system.
Right.
I believe, if I remember hearing right, the height for this one was kind of unique based on the clients that they're going to serve, being trucks specifically for this. You know, the trucks need a little bit more time to get
Correct.
over into a lane to keep the general population on the interstate safe.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was my point, was even though there's places around us that have lower signage, it's a problem when you're trying to get to where you're going. If you don't see that sign until you're right upon it, and all of a
Exactly.
sudden you're trying to exit, you know, to me, that's a safety issue.
It is a safety
I
issue,
think
especially for
to me-
18-wheelers.
To me, the higher, the better, and my husband's a truck driver, so I understand they can't just zoom over and pull over, and plus that exit, unless they're gonna do something with that exit, that's a fairly narrow, it's not a really good exit anyway. So I think they, you know, I'm not sure where we are in the,
more of a
you know, in the state doing anything with that exit. It's a problem anyway, so I actually make a motion that we approve this sign variance as written.
Can we have discussion before we get a second on that? Brian, what are you thinking? Are you hesitant about the height of that? Do you think that's gonna
Hey,
be a
I
problem?
just think that if everybody hasn't researched sign height, that needs to happen before you make a vote.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just like anything else out there. I'm in agreement that you need to be able to see something flying down the road, hence 2,300 square feet. That's a house. You're gonna see that regardless
But I'm
where
also-
you're at.
But it's also,
Okay.
it's also stability.
I understand.
base
The
is
stability is
stability.
because of the size of the mass they're
Right.
putting on top of
And the
it. That's what
wind
that's all
and-
about.
Yeah, and Oklahoma winds on
Uh,
I-35,
and
yeah,
I would
and understand.
I would recommend that, you know, everybody just be real clear what we're voting on here and do a little bit of research. It's not going to hurt to table this. We'll end up voting it on the next one anyway. But it's not going to hurt for planning, who should have had this before we got this.
Yeah.
And they should have, in my opinion.
I can tell you that I'm retired out of 40 years in the trucking industry, so I'm very familiar with truck stops and truck stop signage. And it is a very serious safety issue. I can't tell you the number of accidents I've investigated over the years where a truck driver saw an exit or a sign at the last minute, and he was in the number one lane when it happened, and they need to know
They do.
way, way, way down the road what's coming up that they want to get off for.
Yep. And that is the only place from, you know, from there to Seward Road. How tall is that sign? Do we know how tall the sign is for the Shell station on Seward Road?
Again, not in city limits, and so they don't have to actually present anything to
I was
staff.
just curious if anybody knew the answer to that question. Okay, because that's not so easy to see, and that's also on a hill.
I
So-
question the advisability of a truck stop at that location to begin with. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, unless they're
Sorry.
going to do something with those off-ramps
Yeah.
Yeah.
and on-ramps right there.
Yeah,
They're
that's
going to
it.
have to do something, but again, that's not in our,
It's
No.
not
on our table.
It's not our call.
Anyway.
So if I understand Commissioner Bothroyd's take, you know, he wishes that planning would have kind of seen all of this. Again, I don't know that planning would have been able to give you guys any input on the actual variance that you're being presented tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, somebody make a motion.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the table. Lori motioned that, we had the discussion. And I'm just not sure. Brian, I'm sorry, I'm going back to you because you've got I think you're kind of hesitant, but is there, if I do the research, I don't see that it being too tall is going to be a problem. I don't think that that's going to be a conflict from the two people with
It may
trucking
not.
experience. They're thinking the bigger the sign, the better for safety reasons. And so I'm thinking I don't see what would happen to change my mind, but if you've got some ideas that we should look at it, then I want to. want to
Well,
look at that. So-
there's a reason it's in place at 50 feet. Okay, and there's a reason every other community is in place at approximately the same height.
Okay.
And that's, the things I think you need to research as well.
Okay.
Is
Well,
why is, when you go up and down I-35, why is it pretty standard of 50 feet? Why do we have a zoning ordinance in the first place if it only being 50 feet? Why?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I didn't.
I think
Just
that we should know.
standardize, be my guess, but,
I
okay.
think that we should know the answer to that question.
I think I've got a few more whiskers than the rest of the people at this table.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it just dates back to Lady Bird Johnson and her campaign in the 60s to put up solid fences around wrecking yards and reduce the height of signage along the freeway. It was her big attempt at beautifying America. And a lot of that is what we're seeing today is a carryover from those times and a lot of that federal legislation. And that's why I asked whether or not we were encroaching on any of the federal guidelines. If we're not, then I personally don't have a problem with it.
I guess what's the downside? If it's just aesthetics, then is it, I mean, if you're balancing aesthetics and safety, so what's the downside?
There is a motion on the table to approve as submitted.
I'll second it
Okay.
for the sake of a vote.
Okay. And all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. All opposed? Hearing none.
Okay. All righty. Our next discussion item is, it says the discussion and possible action of application 24,
I'm sorry, but I want to make sure that what we just approved was only for the height.
Only for the height.
We're not doing that square footage.
Only for the height.
Okay.
No.
Sorry. Carrie?
Okay.
Proceed. I
Okay.
just thought that was very important.
okay, we all clear? Okay. Application number 2014-2011-2753 for the property located at 512 North 10th Street in regards to the Guthrie Code of Ordinance, Chapter 4, Article 22, Section 1, Paragraph G, which prohibits the construction of commercial buildings where metal materials on the exterior exceed 60% of the design. I think we got some pictures and information in here.
And the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Am I understanding, is he the applicant or
Brother, right?
Representing. the applicant.
representative? Okay, okay, gotcha. Okay.
What is excuse me, what's the intent of the structure?
I think he has to stand
Yeah,
up
and if you don't mind joining the podium.
Yeah.
just for the microphone.
Could you state your name and,
Eric McPeak.
okay,
It's basically just a garage. It's not for commercial or, it's just residential.
okay,
A residential garage. He's not going to be conducting a business
No.
out of that building. Okay.
okay, okay. Mainly just storage and stuff like that?
Yeah, storage and
Okay.
vehicle parking.
Okay,
Is this the actual picture of it?
No, that's just a representation of what we're wanting to do. We'd like to do sheet metal on the sides, maybe do a wainscoting. I know there's several buildings around town that do have sheet metal on the sides with wainscoting, similar to what we're interested in doing.
So the picture we're looking at, is this the wainscoting where it's a different color on the bottom?
Yeah, wainscoting would just
So
be a different
Color sheet metal,
yeah.
so it's all sheet metal, but it's got a different look, a
Yeah.
different color on the bottom.
It could be sheet metal or it could be something,
Brick
some other
layer or
material, yeah.
what are you all planning on doing? Are y'all putting any other materials on that building, or is it gonna be all sheet metal?
No, it'll be all sheet, it'll be all sheet metal,
Okay,
and then, a privacy fence around the back of it, once we got everything done and the permits for it, and then, if we needed to, we could, the sides that are facing the road, the streets out there, we could do a wainscoting with something on the bottom, similar to this eye doctor, building out here,
Doctor.
something kind of like that,
okay.
so.
Now, where the building's going, Tell me, how's it sitting on that property again? Make sure I understand. It's right there on the corner, so it's on, 10th and, is that Mansur?
Mansur.
Mansur, okay.
Yeah.
And the house is going to be to the north of it, right?
Correct.
Now, you said something about a fence. How's that fencing going to be again?
Uh,
Okay.
He'd like to run something from, I guess, north of the building.
Okay.
kinda
Between
over
the
towards
house?
Yeah, between the house and the building. Not necessarily connect it, but just either there or going back to the east on both sides of on the north and the south side of the building.
So the fence won't go all the way around?
No, no,
Okay,
no.
okay. So basically, it'll be open to both 10th and Mansur?
Correct.
Do you know which way the doors, anything's going to be facing, or
I
which way
think-
it's going to face?
I think they're going to face the west.
It will face west, okay,
I believe so.
okay, okay.
So this is, so the drawing is reversed, is that right? On
I don't know if you saw it.
where you have this? Because this would be west, right?
Well, this would be west here.
is west right here.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I'm turned around.
house is on the north.
yeah.
Because there's the house right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go, okay.
Yeah, yeah. To the west would be 10th Street, and to the south would be Mansur. Right, okay, okay, gotcha.
Are the setbacks that are indicated on here, are those to city code, the 15-foot and 25-foot?
Okay.
And how large is that lot, do you know? Is it a lot?
I'm not sure. Is there a deed on there? Or?
I don't think we have a copy of the deed.
I think it's a combination of two lots. is it
Yeah,
not?
yeah, it is
Well,
a combination.
Let's see.
It really didn't look like two lots when I went by there.
Well, it's on the deed.
Well, 512
That's
is one
what it
lot,
says
and the
that.
corner lot, right?
What's that?
512 is his home, and that's one lot, and then the lot that this
Correct.
is going on is
Yeah.
another lot.
Yeah.
What's the lots, 13 and 14, okay.
Because when you do it scale, if you go on, satellite view, which isn't real accurate, it looks like the 512 house is set back about 32 feet, and this white house is set back 50 feet. And so I was just trying to compare,
Yeah,
these we're going to see,
yeah. That drawing, the square on there is not to scale
No.
for the building.
yeah.
I did that over here at the window.
Yeah, when you're
Yeah.
trying to get it
Yeah.
done, no, I understand it's
Kinda
not
showing-
scale.
yeah.
But the 15-foot would not be back along that other house. It'd be quite a bit closer to 10th Street than the existing house is,
Correct.
right? And then it would extend quite a bit front, that your neighbor on Mansur, it'd be in front of their house. So as people are driving down Mansur or down 10th, they're going to see those other sides of that building. Is that correct? Because there's nothing blocking their view.
That's gonna be on the south side of that. It shouldn't be that far or that close to it. Basically, if I remember right, I think that lot's 95 feet long, right there.
Okay.
Or it's half of that or something. The building is gonna be a 30 by 40 or a 30 by 50. And so basically the square footage I have on there, or the distance from the roads on each side,
Okay.
that's just the minimum amount, to be able to say that, we're gonna set this back this far. We haven't actually laid out the pad yet, because it's kind of contingent on being
Yeah.
able to put sheet metal inside, so.
Okay, and but the size of the building is going to be 30 by 15, right?
50.
50.
50?
Yeah, I said 50.
Yeah.
Wow, I wrote it down.
30 by 50.
Head colds are bad.
Has there been any response from the property owners that,
None. We've received no response from either of these issues tonight.
Are there other existing metal buildings in it? I kind of drove around, I didn't see any.
I think there's one around there. I think it's back to the northwest of that.
Northwest?
Yeah.
Is it that size, or?
I'm not sure what.
No,
it's
there's
on.
nothing like that in there.
That's what I'm
I drove
thinking
all
too,
over that.
yeah.
There's nothing like that in there, and that's my conundrum on the deal, is because, we're looking at, it would actually improve that street.
Yeah,
Okay.
anything would improve?
That's where
Yeah.
I'm going with it,
Yeah.
that it would improve the street, but now all of a sudden, we're allowing 30 by 50 metal buildings, in an actual developed neighborhood. I mean, you know, on some of the stuff that we've had in the past, it's been acreage, rural, that's been annexed into the city.
I think if you go down 10th, another block to Noble, I believe it's Noble, the next street, and make a left turn and go about 200 feet, there is a metal building, 3 doors, that's about the size of, that this one would be.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's,
Business, isn't it?
it is enclosed
Business
behind a
right on
fence.
Noble, right?
Yeah,
On
Yeah.
Noble.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's right on Noble.
I mean, you can see one from the proposed other one that's
Right.
going to go up, so.
I know. It's actually,
You talking about
and there's
Bit-
another one on 11th.
You're not talking about
on
Benton's, are you?
9th. No. But I know what he's talking about. I think it's on 9th Street right there, right?
Ninth Street.
9th and Noble.
Like the Noble.
It's a gray-looking building.
Oh, that, well,
And then there's one right behind it that's a metal building there,
oh, okay.
and that's a business, but hence that's zone commercial, and this is residential.
Right, right, I know you're
And
talking
so it's a different animal. But again, I mean, that's where I'm tore on it, because it would make a heck of a difference in the neighborhood. It would improve it. But then are we gonna be ready to go ahead and improve them all down in that whole area?
Right.
You know, that's what we have to look at. Because there's a
Well,
lot
there's
of
not a whole
homes
lot
down there
down
that
there.
looks like they're
Yeah.
being demolished right at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
what's
and-
gonna happen?
And you can make those things, you know, I mean, it's gonna look nicer than anything that's down there.
Yeah, no
basically.
question.
But, and, I mean, and people do, you know, they live in them. You know, you can make those things houses or, you know,
Yeah.
and you can make them look like houses even though they're just shops.
So basically, the only use, it's going to be storage for vehicles?
Vehicles and just basically what you'd use a garage for.
Okay.
What's the framework structure going to be?
Steel,
Steel?
yep.
Well, I mean, so that's going to basically, it's going to keep all old vehicles and broke down stuff inside a garage as opposed to outside.
Correct.
I think that's an improvement anyway.
And, I mean, you know, they'd only have, you know, 1 or 2 garage doors, which, I mean, basically, on a structure that size would, you know, basically look like a house with with a 2-car garage, so.
How long's he owned the property?
I'm
Do you know?
not sure. I know probably 5 to 10 years.
Okay, okay.
Let me ask you a question. Is there an intent to build out inside of any part of it for dwelling?
No, maybe a restroom, but not living quarters. So,
Eric, now, is that your brother's house?
Uncles.
Uncle's house? What is the exterior of his house? Is it,
Kind of the,
Asbestos siding?
yeah.
oh, is that what that
I
is?
think so.
Okay, I couldn't.
They all are right there. They're all
Are
the
they?
same.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Well, apparently, since we haven't had anybody from the notifications come back, nobody has an issue with it, but we just have to be prepared as a board if that's the way we want to go with that entire area.
I think that's interesting. You know, Commissioner Bothroyd has brought up a really great point about, it would improve the area, but, you know, what's the precedent going to be being set? I think that's a tough challenge that you guys have to deal with, but a great point that's being brought up, that no one has challenged it.
Yeah, that no one's challenged it, although one of our main things to approve it was, hey, there's another metal building within sight of this one, so if that's okay, then this okay. And so it does breed the ability to just continue to build metal buildings, which is not what we want for our city, but I think this approves that neighborhood,
And this
so
area is a little,
I'm willing to
area
go
specific,
with that.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be willing to approve it. And I don't even feel like we need to put the requirement of the wainscoting. As long as we're not going corrugated, as long as it's one of the flat-sided steel buildings, right? You're not putting corrugated steel on there, you put,
It's gonna be like an R panel, so it
Okay.
won't be the galvanized
Yeah,
stuff
the
that you see.
galvanized stuff, yeah.
It'll be colored,
okay.
you know.
Yeah, so if it's colored metal, he said that they were willing to do the wainscoting, but I don't even know if we need to require that. I mean, what's the cost difference to,
It depends on what material you use. Now, if it was metal, basically it's just, the cost of a different colored metal and then the labor, because I used to build those and it's probably, 1.5 or 2 times more to do wainscoting on the side of a building than it is just to run sheet metal.
okay.
So,
They've so much improved those materials, haven't they?
oh, yeah.
So they last a lot longer, they
Yeah.
don't fade and.
No,
They don't,
the sheet metal on that, is the guy that's building it, he rolls his own sheet metal and stuff out of Enid. And it's, got a 25-year color warranty on it, and, I
Oh,
mean,
excellent.
they last a long time.
Most of it's rated to Category 4 hurricane.
Yeah, there's no question, they're
So it'll
awesome.
be standing and the houses will be
We,
gone.
we live kind of rural, and my neighbor's got one, and they are just awesome units, no question. But the fact remains that we have to be prepared, if we do that in that area, that we'll potentially, because there's a lot of dilapidation going on down there.
Right.
Okay, and there is, and it looks like there's a lot of vacant houses in there, as you probably know.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if it's a bad thing or if it's a good thing.
Because there's a bed and breakfast that's over there that's trying to keep the historic
Lions Inn,
image.
yeah.
And so
Stone
they're,
Lion.
they're
Blocks
trying
down,
to,
couple of blocks
you know,
down.
they don't want to look out their window and see a metal building, but this is not within view, but
No, but,
Right.
there's, yeah, so
Can-
you're right.
how can you-
You don't want the whole neighborhood going to it.
well, that's what I'm saying, how can you, I'm in agreement, though, that it would look great there, no question.
Okay. Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application.
Okay?
Got a second?
I'll second. Go ahead,
Okay.
Laurie.
A second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Got
you,
it.
Mr. McPeak.
And is that with the wainscoting or without?
Without.
Without,
No, okay.
Make it look good.
yeah,
All right, okay, all right. All right. Next item is any staff comments?
Well, I think that last discussion item was a great example of, and I just want to give a special thank you to all of you. That was a tough discussion because you, Commissioner Bothwell again brought up a really fantastic point about does it improve and
Right.
yes, it might look better, but what are we doing to the Board of Adjustment long term? And so,
Right.
just have such great respect for what you guys do and volunteering your time, and want to thank you guys, and hope you guys have had a good holiday season so far, and I look forward to seeing you guys in 2015.
All right. Next item, any board comments?
Well, just on that same vein, with the new materials that they're developing, and given that neighborhood, I mean, what if someone wanted to tear down one of those structures that looks horribly
Bad.
bad, I mean, bad, yeah. And they wanted to put up one of those
Metal
nice
house.
metal houses. What,
Well-
I guess it's something we need to think about,
so-
not,
Here's what happened in the second to the last back Board of Adjustment, Planning Commission meeting. The little black lady from Walmart, my wife knows her name, and I don't know her name. She sits right there as you walk in, sweetest little lady you ever met in your life, okay? And she wanted to put a manufactured home, not a mobile home.
oh, yes. I saw it, yeah.
Manufactured home
Yep.
behind Ace, and it was disallowed completely.
Yep.
So, okay, yeah, there's dilapidation in there too. So where do you pick, yes, you can, and no, you can't? As a community, if we're gonna, I'm a believer that if I can have it, so can you.
Yep.
That's the way I believe. I don't wanna be denied anything, and I don't wanna deny anyone anything.
And I'm a believer if you own your property, that's your property,
Right.
and
But that's what
So-
happened there.
Well, when
And
was
it never
this-
did come here.
So when was this ordinance passed? You said it was back in the 80s, right?
I believe most of this code of ordinance that we have is early
Well,
80s.
and I know, just like he said, they have so improved those,
Well, one trend that we're all going to see across the nation is, the rise of these new container-style homes, to where they're reusing old shipping containers and doing either office space. We've looked at it as far as the economic development effort for office space even. And so these trends are going to be popping up more and more. And so if we always, anyone on the board is free to give me a shout during the off times and try and get it on the agenda to just discuss, do we need to make a change? And so that might not have been something that I expressed during the last meeting, but if there's ever something that you want to say, hey, looking at this, it seems a little bit outdated, do we need to take a look at changing it? Always open to it, and we'll bring it to the board.
Cody, I think you make a good point, because like you say, if we make a precedence and more people are going to metal homes, which are a lot better structures anyway, like you say, maybe that ordinance needs to be changed. Maybe something that needs to, go before the city council, I guess.
I think by its nature, a variance request is a request that somebody issue an exception to an existing rule.
Right.
exactly.
We're not being asked to change the rule, we're being asked to agree to an exception to an existing rule. It's up to the other various boards and commissions to change that rule, and maybe if they see us granting enough exceptions to a specific rule, they'll decide it's time to vote on changing the rule.
Right.
But
That would
I-
be if we keep getting more and more of these, because
Which
we've
I
had
can
how
see.
many of these in the last however many months?
But they have been rural.
Yeah.
my two careers
They've been rural with
Well,
acreage.
have been as a contractor, home builder, and in the trucking industry. And I would build a metal home today for myself and live in it without any question whatsoever. In fact, they're doing a very nice one on Sooner, if anybody's been down there. It's on the west side of the road, probably about 4 miles down. It's huge. It's gotta be, I'm guessing, 4,800 to 5,000 square feet, two-story, with
Well,
gables
they're just
and
so much more,
porticos
they're
around
just
it.
so much more efficient.
Beautiful
Their
place,
maintenance
yeah.
is lower. I mean, that's the way to the future. So maybe, like you said, if we see we're doing a lot more of them, then maybe the city could kind of look and say, well.
And we
maybe
could see a lot of cross collaboration between boards as well.
Right.
But there is a fine line between a metal building and a manufactured home and a mobile home.
Right.
And to draw that line is real thin,
Yep.
Right, yeah.
and it is.
I
I have a
think there's a-
neighbor that has a manufactured home, and I don't have an issue with it. Of course, we got a bunch of land, so does he. But it's not a mobile home.
Yeah.
It's the kind that comes in multiple pieces.
Well, but
you know.
a metal home is a home, you build it on site, you don't.
Right.
You don't haul it in, so, I mean, this is just difference in exterior structure instead of brick or wood or, insulation's a lot better from what I've been told, and,
It's a lot safer from a fire standpoint.
yeah.
I just think there needs to be, and maybe you can coordinate a more of a mass board meeting for just general discussion, because, it's kind of like this deal here. When I only drove through there today, but I do go through there. I've got a youngest daughter who rents a house back in there, but up off of 14th area, and there's a lot of dilapidation going on in there, man.
I did what you did. I went through this afternoon. I go through every time when we got something to vote on. And
Yeah.
Right.
There are places that really should have a bulldozer put right through them. My attitude is, God bless anybody that wants to make an investment and put up a nice structure in that part of town.
Right.
Well, that thing's gonna cost
Why
them
should we
25
stop it?
grand or
Yeah,
so
why should we
anyway.
stop
Yeah.
them?
Or more.
No, I agree.
Exactly. His property saved money to put it up, and
That's what I'm saying. Maybe we can coordinate a multi-board meeting where we can all get together, have general discussion on what do we want to do with that area.
And I'll tell you this, I'm kind of seeing some head nods agreeing with that, and so I'm going to take that as a board recommendation. If anyone has any objections, let me know, but I'd like to move forward with that and talk about kind of some cross-collaboration meeting. I know that Planning Commission and Transportation have done it a few times, and so I'd love to kind of put put this board in partnership with the planning commission as well. So
Right, okay.
we'll see what we can do in 2015.
All right.
New year.
Last item is adjournment. Any other comments before we adjourn? Make a motion that we adjourn.
A second.
Thank you all.
All right.